come to the crippling realization that I no longer know how to do my own hair. Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you've never been here before, I wouldn't start here, but welcome just the same. And I'm also exhausted. So now seems like the perfect time to review Gabbie Hanna's new book, Dandelion. Spoiler alert, I didn't make it through the whole book, so I'm only going to be reviewing what I read. And by read, I mean listened to, because I used a free Audible credit because I wasn't about to pay for this, but I didn't want to pirate it. I assume she still gets the money for it, which is fine as long as I didn't have to spend it. A lot of you will remember that Gabbie Hanna's first book, Adultolescence, got more or less torn to shreds by pretty much everyone with a fully formed frontal cortex. There was a lot of back and forth discussion about, is this book supposed to be taken seriously? Is this book a real book that people made? Is there a hair on my lip? Spoiler alert, there is. She cleared it all up by saying that it's dealing with the larger issues in life through a child's perspective, but also that it wasn't meant to be taken so seriously. So the message is clear. I'm just still trying to figure out what that message is, but I know that it's clear. So I really wanted to give Dandelion a fair shot because I didn't read Adultolescence. I didn't need to. Enough commentary channels picked it apart for me to know that it happened. It was published on purpose. So I hoped with years passing that Dandelion might be worth a read, and I thought I would like to read it. Now I know what you're thinking.
You've already made videos criticizing the shit out of Gabbie Hanna. You're clearly reading this to hate on her.
Maybe. Or maybe I'm an adult with an open mind who's willing to take at face value the fact that the artists said that they were proud of this work and that I should see for myself if it's something I feel it's worthy of them to be proud of. And even if I don't feel it is, she can still be proud of that. I'm not trying to take that away from her. I'm just out here doing the Lord's work, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? A lot of these are small and blurby. There are some bigger, heavier ones. So let's start with the small and blurby because, again, I only made it through half of this book. And maybe I missed a really great second half, but I feel like I probably didn't.
Oops, did I give away how I already feel about this book?
Let's move on. Buzz. One time I watched a fly fall and learned no one's perfect after all. You can either take that at face value as kind of like a Seussian observation, or you can say that because fly is both a name and a descriptor of what the creature in question does with its life, that their imperfection is almost ironic in that it fell. Let's try another one. Solar. I'm at the bottom of the universe when you're on top of the world. So either you're grounded for someone else while they're thriving, or their thriving and their success make you sad. Or maybe I'm misinterpreting it. Or maybe it's not meant to be taken that seriously. I don't know. Forgiveness. I don't know if you wonder, and I'm sure you don't care, but I thought you should know I don't hate you anymore. I mean, that's cool. I feel like that's something, that's probably just like a text. Money. If I had $1 for every time a stranger saw me cry in public, I still couldn't buy happiness. Okay, this is sort of the precursor to what most of these poems are like. There are a whole lot of like, this is funny and quirky because I'm sad. My life is sad. I'm sad. Don't forget I'm depressed. Which there's nothing wrong with writing about your depression, and there's nothing wrong about writing about it in a light-hearted manner. But it's just so much this book. Closet. What is a monster if not just an animal we don't know? I believe Gabbie referenced this poem in particular in her video about the book Dandelion. And in classic Gabbie Hanna fashion, she told us exactly what this poem is about. She made reference to the fact that it was about the LGBT community. Now, I understand the parallel she's trying to make with the word monster and a misunderstood member of the LGBT community. Kind of uncomfortable with the verbiage. I understand it's hyperbole. However, the use of the word monster and the use of the word animal, that is kind of questionable. Also, to my knowledge, and I don't want to ever assume anybody's sexuality by any stretch, but like, as far as I know, Gabbie is not a member of the LGBT community. I feel like that's a poem, I don't know, it doesn't speak to your experience. I guess it doesn't have to. Maybe I'm nitpicking. Let me know if I'm nitpicking. Murder. How many times did you think you could kill me and get away with it? A lot of the little blurbies are about her being betrayed by someone, and like desperately hanging on to someone while they try to get away, and it's very telling. Waves. Life's full of ups and downs. Oh cool, when's the up part? Again, another one like, I'm depressed and it's funny. And again, it's not that you can't laugh at your depression. It's just kind of cringy, I guess. There are a few sections where Gabbie gives you life advice in case you ever needed advice from a woman who never handles her problems head on. Confidence. I feel like I missed a lot in the audiobook version, but again, I wasn't about to pay for it. I missed a lot hearing the audiobook versus I think seeing the illustration, because I feel like without the illustration you lose a lot of context. This one isn't an example of that because it's I think dialogue. I miss when you were humble. I wasn't humble, I just hated myself. And I really would like to see what the illustration's like for that one, because that explains a lot. If that is literally like an introspective sort of poem, that's very telling. It actually kind of was an aha moment when I was thinking about it, because there was a point in Gabbie's videos, I don't know if I've made this particular point in any of my Gabbie videos, but there was a point in Gabbie's content where I sort of felt icky watching her. I think I did talk about this. There was just a point where like her content didn't really change, but her attitude changed. And even though that may have been for the better for her, I think it was to the detriment of her channel, because I feel like a lot of people also felt that way. And that's what ultimately led up to her thinking she was shadow banned. Because I think her attitude, her demeanor, the way she spoke to people, it all sort of changed. And I feel like if this poem is true to her, when she learned how to love herself, she lost her relatability, her approachability, her niceness, her humble, like being humble, seeming to be humble. So I think if this really is an introspective sort of poem, I think it's very telling of Gabbie Hanna. What makes God laugh? I wonder what makes God laugh. That's a real poem in a published book. Inferno. Why do we concern ourselves with the meaning of life and death? Don't you know that dying is trading one hell for the next? Ironic. I obsess so much over the meaning of life. I swear it's gonna kill me. I feel like these two, and this is, I really want to make this point. I feel like the super short blurby, like, I wonder what makes God laugh poems don't suit her. I spent so much of this book waiting for a poem to continue. Not because I was like thirsty for it and wanted more, but because so many of these tiny blurbs, especially like the real depressing ones, they felt incomplete. They didn't feel like, oh, this is a nice passing thought. It feels like this is incomplete. Like, what is this? Feels like something it was a thought you had while you were dreaming and you woke up and scribbled it down, or something like you were drunk and you were like, oh, this will be a great tweet, let me put that out. Ironic and Inferno should have been one poem, and they should have expounded upon the idea of you thinking about your own mortality and the meaning of life. I mean, it could have been a really, really interesting look at the way that people who really concern themselves with thinking about the meaning of life, how they evolve, and what it is that they think, and the depths of the mind of people like that. Because a lot of us, some of us aren't even like that. I don't think about the meaning of life at all. Maybe I should. A lot of the longer blurbs are very much littered with like the "I'm so kind, I would give to, you know, I would do anything for anyone" kind of thing, and they'll screw me over. And it's just, that gets so tired after a while. I feel like this whole book could have been maybe like 25 poems if you just kind of smashed them together and really sort of expounded upon one idea and explored that. I just think there was a lot of missed opportunity for like actual poetry. Not that I'm not trying to belittle her poetry, but I'm just saying like actual thoughtful, lengthy, not that every poem needs to be a fucking soliloquy, but like to really elaborate on some of these thoughts, I think would have been really interesting. To be fair, there were a few poems in here that were really good. I won't recite them all for you. Checkmate was good. I've heard her speak about Checkmate before. Checkmate was good. Yawn was good. Assault was good, which was an interesting sort of take on having been sexually assaulted and the reasons why you'd never tell anybody, or specifically she didn't tell anybody, if this is again an introspective poem. And then there was another one called Codependent, which I'll read for you. You can bruise me, beat me, hate me, or cheat me, but I'll still want you forever. I'll beg you to love me as you beg to leave me, and for that I blame my mother. I'm not a poetry expert, but I really liked that. That's a nice, concise look at a potential chunk of her trauma. There's a few other heavier ones that are really, really good. And really, really interesting. And then there's Redundant. I think I might be lonely, she whispered to herself. That's not exactly redundant. I mean, I can see where you get the title. That's not really redundant. It's like a joke. I get where she was going with it, but I don't know. A lot of the lighter entries really read like a comic strip out of a newspaper. Like, I'm dating myself with that, but date.
I'm really easygoing until I'm done pretending that I'm really easygoing.
Yeah, I mean, slap that on a Ziggy mug and like call it a day, because that's like, that's a comic strip joke. Overall, the half of the book I read, it wasn't terrible. It was kind of an arduous read because, or listen, I guess in my case. I would have liked the book more if it was more of the codependent poem and less of the I wonder what makes God laugh kind of poems. I get the sort of like observational, putting a lighthearted spin on serious depression kind of thing, but I feel like it's so overdone in this book that it's sort of beating you to death with it. I feel like it would have been a less arduous read or listen if it was a little less like micro blurby and a little more with more substance to a lot of these. I understand like just like passing text or like quick note, you know, here's this, but it was just like, it was almost done to death, and it became really sort of grating to try and listen to. And maybe it's easier to read it, I don't know. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever read. It certainly wasn't the best thing I've ever read. I don't think it deserves to be completely torn to shreds. I think there's some value in some of these poems. It's raining outside. And I do think the sort of setup of the book could have used a little bit more work. I haven't seen any of the illustrations, so I don't know how those are. I'm sure they're fine. So I know you're probably expecting me to sit here and tear her to shreds over this book, but I'm actually not going to. I didn't completely hate it. I definitely didn't love it. I still don't know that I would call it poetry, like 100%. I probably would have called it like, I don't know, like essays and other things. Like poetry, you know what? Let's talk about Dorothy Parker, because she was a brilliant essayist and a brilliant poet. Okay, here's a good one. Good example of writing like a small blurby poem. It's called Anecdote. So silent I when love was by, he yawned and turned away, but sorrow clings to my apron strings. I have so much to say. And that's art, baby. That's all I have for you today. This feels very subpar because I'm very tired. But I have like 3 other videos that I've been writing all week, and this was the one that required the least brain power of all of them. So this one goes out first. I have literally 3 videos that are in the works and are coming soon. When? I don't fucking know, okay? That's not true. I'm trying to make at least 1 to 2 a week, and I'm failing, but that's just because I'm working on the other ones. So again, that's all I have for you today. If you like this video, please feel free to give it a like. If you didn't like this video, please feel free to give it a like. Subscribe if you haven't already, for the love of fucking God. And again, I make videos whenever the hell I feel like it. If you are in the United States and you are 18 or older, please make sure you fucking vote in this election so that we can get ourselves out of this fucking mess. Kamala, Kamala, Kamala. Vote. It's important. I guess I technically have 4 videos a brewing. I will be vlogging on election day, which is November 3rd. I don't know why. I do have a video from last election day. It's an interesting saga of like, I'm going to vote, we're voting, this is gonna be terrifying, to like sobbing and then being like, okay, well here's all the ways that we can fight this motherfucker. If you want to watch that, I'll link that below. I will be doing another election day vlog this year, so maybe you'll get to see me cry again, but hopefully they'll be happy tears. Anyway, that was a really long outro. You have yourself a good day, night, bender, whatever the hell it is you're doing, and I will see you in the next one.